In recent years, YouTube has seen a rise in the use of storytelling in videos, and for good reason too, since it makes the videos that much more interesting. A subset of storytelling is emotional storytelling, and it's something that the Fate series does really well, especially with characters like the King of Heroes himself. But what even is emotional storytelling, and why does it take a story, whether it's a YouTube video, an anime, a movie, or a book, from pretty good to really good? Well, it's one of those concepts that's easy to understand but difficult to explain, especially when it comes to explaining why it works in certain situations and not in others. Think of it as a special kind of magic in stories. It's what makes us really care, even though we might not fully grasp why. For those who are a little unfamiliar with writing, it might seem like even more of a mystery. Still, the outcome is incredible, with writers using this magic to hook us into stories, making us feel connected like we're a part of the story. But how do they do that? Fate Zero is an amazing show that's really good at tugging at the viewer's heartstrings. It was pretty difficult to decide which character I wanted to talk about, from the exciting journey of Ryder and Waver to the heart-wrenching tragedies of others, or even just the fact that one of the few characters that die with a smile on their faces are the two psychopaths, Castor and Ryunosuke. But here's the thing, too much of anything isn't always a good idea. Drenching a story in too many intense emotions can turn it stale. It's overwhelming and eventually loses its impact. That's where some clever tricks come into play. There's this archetype in writing called the jester. It's like a secret sauce in storytelling. These characters bring a different flavor to the emotional feast. They're kind of like that friend that keeps things light even when the situation is heavy, and there's an amazing YouTube channel that delves into this deeper. Hisoka from Hunter x Hunter is a classic character that embodies this archetype. He's unpredictable and brings a sense of levity to the series, despite being a formidable antagonist. Jesters are essential in stories because they add balance. Imagine a seesaw. Too much sadness on one side can make the story tip over, and the jester is like the counterweight. They're not too bothered by what's happening, almost like they're just watching a show for fun. Because they're so carefree, they radiate this magnetic power. They're calm, relaxed, and confident, qualities we usually want to see in ourselves. Their carefree attitude makes even the angriest moments seem not so bad. It's like a secret ingredient in cooking up drama. They sprinkle in more flavor than you'd expect. These characters are more than meets the eye. They're the spice that makes the emotional soup just right. And that's why Gilgamesh is so important. The story wouldn't be half as good without him. And no, it's not just because of stuff like this.
地を這う虫けら風情が誰の許しを得て表を上げるあれを恐れることはないだと貴様は俺を見るにあたわぬ虫けらは虫けららしく地だけを眺めながら死ね
It's natural in most stories for a character to have a goal that they strive towards or something that drives them. Saber wants to undo her past mistakes and save England. Waver wants to be taken seriously. Kiritsugu wants to end all conflict, and Kirei longs for something that brings him joy. But Gilgamesh literally doesn't care. He is the king of kings, the hero of heroes. So why should he have to stoop down to the level of these mongrels just to fight for an item that he has no need for? More often than not, we see him doing, well, nothing. He contributes every once in a while, but he literally couldn't care less about what's going on, and this adds a very sharp contrast to the other characters who desperately want to attain the Holy Grail. If you've ever watched the face-to-face before a fight, then Gilgamesh is basically the moderator, except he doesn't really moderate. And while that certainly adds to the story, it doesn't make for an interesting character, and that's what's so key here, because it's this very same nonplussed attitude and superiority complex that makes him so damn entertaining, and it makes those moments where he does get serious that much more interesting, because even though he doesn't care, he will not tolerate disrespect.
Who gave you permission to look upon me, you rabid dog? May your death provide me some modicum of entertainment, mongrel.
Gilgamesh flips the script on the theme of pride. He's not the only prideful character in the show. We see the chivalry shared between Saber and Lancer, where their pride as warriors prevents them from fighting unjustly. We see Waver's pride when he refuses to be put down by his teacher and strives to aim high. But Gilgamesh's pride is different to these in the sense that it purely makes him look down on others. And that's why Berserker's disrespect doesn't sit well with him. He feels obligated to settle this score and claim his top spot. But this initial role fades as the story unfolds. Gilgamesh comes into his own as the observer, the onlooker, and the jester in Fate Zero. When summoned by Tokiomi Tosaka, Gilgamesh could not care less. Tokiomi's goals and personality don't intrigue him at all. So Gilgamesh's early interest is fleeting, and he's utterly bored by his so-called master. But Tokiomi's accomplice, his partner in crime, that's where the real story lies, because in Kirei, Gilgamesh spots a chance to turn this somewhat dull battle into a captivating spectacle worthy of his radiance.
聖杯に何を望む？
私には別段望むところなどない。理想も悲願もない私がなぜこの戦いに選ばれたのか。
理想もなく悲願もない。ならば優越を望めばいいだけではないか。
バカな、優越など。そんな罪深い堕落に手を染めろというのか。
罪深い堕落だと？これはまた飛躍だな。なぜ優越と罪が結びつく？
Kirei is a lost soul, uncertain of his path, indifferent to everything, and clueless about his purpose in this war. He's a remarkably layered and interesting character, and I'll definitely be making a video on him in the future, so subscribe if you don't want to miss it. But Gilgamesh views Kirei like a piece of clay, ready to be molded. His hold on Kirei isn't forceful, it's more like clever manipulation. The trick is, he doesn't dictate Kirei's moves outright. That would put him in the same box as those who've tried to steer Kirei before. Gilgamesh doesn't make decisions for him, he just provides another perspective. Perhaps Kirei is a bit twisted, but who's to say that's a bad thing? Why avoid the inevitable? Embrace it, be true to yourself, become who you truly are. Join forces with me and let's have some excitement. As an outsider to humanity, he shines in this role. He's above the human fray, and this perspective sets him apart from the other characters and adds a whole new layer. He's like one of us, part of the audience, dead set on keeping things thrilling for himself and in turn for us. But Kirei isn't his only playground. Gilgamesh finds another source of amusement in Saber, which gives us a peek into a different side of his personality.
Dear Saber, it is when you are delusional and crawling in the dirt that you are at your most beautiful. Lay down your blade and be my wife. A grail that grants miracles? Where is the sense in totally obsessing over something so dubious? Abandon these foolish ideals and childish vows of yours. From now on, seek only me and devote yourself to me alone.
He plays the role of a choir master brilliantly when he challenges Saber's honorable and selfless beliefs at the king's banquet. And let me just quickly add that this scene provides such a brilliant insight that the only way I can do it justice is by dedicating an entire video to it. But for now, I'll gloss over a few of the interesting points. In a story all about different ideologies clashing, Gilgamesh tosses a bomb into the room by stating his perspective. He's the one and only true king. Everything, according to him, is his domain. He expects everyone to bow down before his magnificence, and if they don't, he considers them traitors. This technique allows him to dissect the viewpoints of characters like Saber, Kirei, and Ryder, showing them alternating angles without their biases. To him, the characters are like pieces on a game board, a mildly entertaining simulation. This puts Gilgamesh in sync with the core themes of Fate Zero. He often mirrors the story's themes or predicts what's coming next, and around the middle, he crudely predicts that Saber's dreams will shatter, and they do. He even forecasts his own triumph from the start and predicts the downfall of those clinging to ideals. This practically spells out the main theme of the story, which is just brilliant. And technically, you could consider this a use of his clairvoyance, something which I explained in my Gilgamesh lore video, but instead, I simply consider it to be phenomenal writing. You see, there's this intriguing mix of drama, emotion, and character consistency in how he respects picks just 2 characters, considering them his true opponents. He sees Saber as a pawn in his game, Kiritsugu as plainly naive, Assassin, Lancer, Tokiomi, and Caster earn his disdain, and he barely even acknowledges the others. But he reserves genuine respect for 2 characters, 2 of my favorite characters in Fate, Waver and Ryder. After all, these are the 2 characters that best embody the heart and soul of a Fate Zero.
Feel free to challenge me again as often as you like, King of Conquerors. This entire world is my garden until the very end of time. Thus, I guarantee you this. It will never bore you. It will always be entertaining. If you are truly a loyal subject to him, your duty now is to avenge your fallen sovereign.
If I challenge you, I'll die.
Yes, of course you will.
I can't do that. I was ordered by him to survive.
Your loyalty is splendid. Never allow anything to tarnish it.
Gilgamesh isn't just a character, he's a narrative tool that brings in dark drama and adds layers to the story. In this sense, he shares a lot of similarities with Eren from Attack on Titan, despite being such a different character. But there's even more to him than just that. If Fate were a play, he'd be the one who tweaks the script, making sure the story unfolds in the most gripping way. And this starts right from the beginning and doesn't stop. He's the thread that weaves the tale together. He's a puzzle piece that perfectly fits into the grand picture, balancing out the fierce ideological clashes in the story. He has an aura that's hard to resist and a devilish charm that keeps you hooked. His interactions are like a roller coaster you never want to get off. Gilgamesh isn't just another face in a crowd of well-written characters. He's the magician behind the curtain, pulling strings and making sure the show is a smashing success. And that's why Gilgamesh is a masterclass in emotional storytelling. But there are countless other examples of amazing characters from so many different anime that are peak writing. So if you want to see more of these how to write videos, please subscribe and leave a comment if you have a character in mind. See you next week.